took us 4 days to get across to South Georgia and through some really rough seas. And then we went down and we touched Antarctica at the same latitude as the Orkney and the Shetland Islands, north of England. And this is the infamous Drake Passage, which ended up, like you'll see at the end, we were lucky. We ended up going across it and it was calm. And normally it's a really bad storm. But we touched Antarctica here. Other trips, I know many of you know Ron Hayes from Canning. Yeah. He and Sarah left the same time as we did. The ship went out at the same time, and they went straight down here inside the Antarctic Circle. And if you want to see some beautiful paintings, I bought one. He did watercolors every day while he was traveling. That was really neat. So it kind of adds to my trip, having done that and bought one of the paintings. So this is the ship we were on. This is what I said I'd emphasize. I've given this talk several times, so I'm going to emphasize some of the environmental.
So John, when you go over there, the folks online can't hear because you leave.
Oh. We only can pick up for online on that microphone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So just stay in that region.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. No, I thought this was the. You can pick it up. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, that just carry me. There we go.
Okay. This is the ship that we went on, the Ocean Adventure. And you see the difference in size between some of the Viking ships and that. We had 119 people on board and 84 crew and expedition leaders. It was really an adventure to go with such a small group, very similar-minded people, and a range of ages from in the 20s to in their close to 80, or I think one lady was 80. And my room was one of the ones, I think this one over here. And so I had a very nice room, a reasonable roommate, and who was there mostly. He just had money, and he was 24 years old and a banker from Chicago, and was more interested in Bitcoin trading than. So anyway, everybody to their own, but I'm rather have him than the radiologist from BC who knew everything better than everybody else. So anyhow, so that was the ship. And I'm just showing you some of the bigger ships. There's a lot of tourism now down to Antarctica. We didn't meet any other ships on the way, but we know they're there. You can see them on the maps, on the Google Maps, and when you put on the right app to see where ships are. And there's a lot of tourism going on down there, which is not good environmentally either. Ours was okay because we were adventurers. We saw a lot of sea life as we were going across to South Georgia, and for every day we saw sea life. It was just, you could stand on board and people were out there from the ship telling us what they were. This is a hourglass dolphin. There were dusky dolphins. Before we even left the Beagle Passage, there was a sei whale. There were Magellanic penguins, and a minke whale. All those were already in the channel on the first night out. So so these were already out at sea in the in the Southern Ocean, South Atlantic. At that part was still South Atlantic, and then as you get south of South Georgia, you're in the Southern Ocean. And we saw lots of albatross, and the wingspan is a good 2 meters across, and beautiful. There were black brow, every day we saw black brow albatross. We saw royal albatross, wandering albatross. They're just everywhere along there. Now, I'll be showing you one of the concerns of the albatross in just a minute. This is one thing right away we had in our rooms, this sign, Captain Standing Order, blinds to remain closed until the morning in order to avoid bird strikes. And the crew went around every morning before we got up and checked, and we did not have one bird strike or one bird on the ground. And we obviously did the right things, and that was part of the philosophy on being aboard here. But here we come to several of the. This will be mixture of environmental and a travelogue to show you where I went. But we had some talk every evening. We had talks. We either learned things about Shackleton, or we learned about the environment, or about the geology of the area. And we learned that the major fishing around here are the Patagonian toothfish, which is also called Chilean sea bass. And it's probably one of the more expensive fishes that are on the menus around the world. And there's to, unfortunately, they use long line fishing. And you see they use a long rope, about 20 kilometers in total of rope. And it's baited with 14,000 hooks. And the hooks are about 3 to 4 inches long, so about this long. And each one is baited with a sardine. And um, if there are illegal ones out there, they're not following the rules. But fortunately, a lot of the good fishermen will follow the rules, and they'll set the nets at night, set the lines out at night when the albatross are not feeding, and pull them in by morning. So it's night fishing, or they do it in the winter months when the albatross are not breeding. And so they are allowed to do that under the Marine Stewardship Council. And so that many nations have signed that. But like I said, there's a lot of poaching going on. And albatross get onto the line going after sardines, and they drown. So there's a lot of evidence of that. So the albatross population has fallen until this Marine Stewardship Council got the agreement of nations to support it. But it'll take a long time for recovery to occur. So this is a major concern. So that is our expedition leader showing us through there, telling us these kind of issues. And the next issue that he was quite concerned about is fishing for krill. And interestingly, while this was going on, I was on a conference, or kind of conversing with Nature Nova Scotia about fish farming here. You know, should we be supporting or trying to denounce the ocean-based fish farming? And it turns out that both land-based and ocean-based fish farming, the food for the salmon comes from krill. So they are farming krill in the Southern Ocean, tons and tons of krill. These are small ships here, and they have the motherships, the big cargo ships that they take it out with. So they're fishing the whole time for krill. The other thing that krill is used for is fish oils for health food stores. There's no proven value of the omega-3 fatty acids, but it's a big market in health food stores. And it's basically the North American and European market, which like to buy those kind of things. And obviously the developing world can't afford that. And we actually did see some of those ships as we went along. We met up with one in the South Orkneys, which I'll show you later. Well, we did finally get over to South Georgia. We hit some really bad storm as we were going across through the 4 days. I actually flew off my chair at one lunch, and fortunately, I didn't hit anything. And certainly had a lot of attention, undesired attention. And I just saw this wave coming. Just the whole ship turned sideways, and I just fell over. I did have to hold on. I was one of the fortunate ones who did not get seasick. Many people did, and I did not get COVID either. That was also on board the ship. Some people were isolated for a few days or 5 days, including doctors. So anyway, we had a lot of, like I said, these talks, and we saw the film on Shackleton over 2 nights with Kenneth Branagh. And Kenneth Branagh, sorry, Ernest Shackleton has a long association with South Georgia and Antarctica, and some of you may know the story. But when when he got his ship broke apart on in uh, in the ice, they floated on the ice up to Elephant Island. I'll show you where that is a little later on. And then he took a lifeboat. What took us 2 days to get to Antarctica from there, it took them a month. They ran out of, they were in a lifeboat, and they using a sextant. And Soren said, "What's wrong with that? That's what he uses all the time." And but no GPS, and you forget about things like water. Their fresh water unfortunately ran out. It got contaminated. So the last 2 or 3 days, they were just had no water, and they were almost, it was unbearable. And I've read the book on Shackleton. If any of you want to read a really good book, this is the book. It's amazing, the collection of photographs that were taken by the expedition, and that were retained. They just kept those things. It's amazing, the whole story. But anyway, so Shackleton ended up on the wrong side of South Georgia, on King Haakon Bay, and there were no maps of how to get across. He knew there was a ridge of mountains, but they had to get to Stromness Bay here. So this is Stromness Bay. It's a whaling station. And so they went across. They did several wrong turns and finally made it in 3 days over the mountains, 3 or 4 days they ended up, heard the bell, the horn calling the men to work at 6:30 in the morning. So he knew it was the right place to be at the right time. They were Norwegians, and was a Norwegian whaling station. That's why all the names are King Haakon Bay, Stromness whaling station, Grytviken. You'll see all those Norwegian names, and then the British gave them all English names as well. Like that's why it's called South Georgia. And so this is one of the first places we came into. The weather was lovely as we came into the leeward side, and that's why all the whaling stations were there on the leeward side. And so our first time off on shore was at Hercules Bay, and just near Stromness. And you see here, I almost stepped on a little seal. There were a lot of them down, lots of whale bones around on the ground. Does anybody know what the bone is on the left? It's not a bone really, but it's an antler. Uh, so why would there be antlers there? There are no deer. Norwegians, they brought reindeer. How are they going to feed themselves? They had to have their reindeer. So they started a reindeer herd. Well, later on, the reindeer they were eating all the sedge grass there. And so they had to be eliminated. So they um, basically had a hunt and got rid of all the reindeer. The other big problem was rats. There were coming off ships. And this is one of the little birds, the South Georgia pipit, was almost eliminated. And there was a duck as well, not a long-necked duck. I'll remember the name later on. But they were almost eliminated because of the rats. And they have made a wonderful recovery. We actually saw, that's not my picture, but well, actually the photographer on the ship took that picture. But I did see the little bird and the duck as well. So it was kind of cool to be able to see these birds that were making a recovery. And so here we are. I'm 75 years old, and my strength is getting a little bit. I wasn't sure how much I could do, but I found out I could actually climb that hill and make it to the penguin colony, which is up there. You can see how high up we are. There's somebody else coming up the hill over here, and you can see the boats that we came on shore with, the Zodiacs, down there, and our ship way down there. Isn't that beautiful scenery? It's just I was just amazed by it. This is Mid-Atlantic. These are due to these are sedimentary rocks that have been shifted due to continental um, was it, drift, and so whereas the Sandwich Islands, which are just off South Georgia, are active volcanoes, and we did hit some active volcanoes on our trip as well. So anyway, here we come up the hill, and next thing I knew, there was a penguin colony of Gentoo penguins, and there were skuas circling them. They're looking for dinner too, and any eggs or any weak ones or so that they could find, they would take them. And then we came back down and we went out in the zodiacs around. And those are the icebergs you saw from higher up. They're just beautiful. And the light that they're showing is just amazing. And then we had waterfalls along there, more penguins, more seals, cormorants or shags. We saw how many different types of cormorants there. It's very much Darwinistic. You know, every area has their own species starts to develop, and so by being on different islands or different areas. And this one, we ran into a penguin, sorry, a baby seal nursery, and there's a white one. Do you see the achronistic one? It's not albino. You'll see it again in a minute, but they're just playing. And you see the penguins up on the shore watching, and they're the mama seals. So the father seals are elsewhere, but so it was just beautiful watching all these baby seals. And then we came on. Oh, by the way, that's where I lost my hat. It blew off my head, and we had to circle around again and pick it up. So it's uh, so the Blomidon Naturalist hat has been in the waters of South Georgia, and so that's just typical. Like that was the boat next to us, and these guys are really interesting. Those are giant petrels, and they're pretty ugly. They're the biggest of the petrels. The petrels are from little ones called prions and shearwaters and all those kind of things, and to these giant petrels, which are eating a dead penguin. So they're busy. That's part of the cycle. They're eating it as well, and so we're watching it. And there's kelp, but the other stuff is kelp. But the other one, those are the penguins eating a penguin. And this is a northern giant petrel, and has nothing to do with the northern hemisphere and the southern. It's northern South Georgia and southern South Georgia, and you can tell the northern one from the southern one. You see the bill is red. The southern one, the bill is green. So you think of a stoplight. Red is red is on the north. Green is on the south. That's how you can tell them apart or remember them. And here's some baby seals. There's the white one again. Just as a pigment, you know, difference with that. And then here we are. We went around and up on this ledge are macaroni penguins. And see the little feathers in their hats? So Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his hat and called it macaroni. That's where that came from. So they took it from that song, and they said they look like they have little hats on. And that's from a style of hat in the 1800s. So, and there are now, I think, Adelie or king penguins on the ground there. And here's the evening in South Georgia. We got the hot tub opened up, and here I am with the oldest lady who is from Holland, who spent most of her time on the deck smoking. she was she was a sailor though. She had a sailor's mouth on her, and good Dutch lady. And this lady is from Macau. She's the youngest one on board. So the three of us were on the first ones in the hot tub. And the next day, you see the ceiling came down. You see the clouds up there. But here we are in Grytviken. And Grytviken is kind of the capital of South Georgia. There's no, the ship can't, come in. You still have to come in with Zodiacs. So we're all there. We couldn't go up to Shackleton's grave because which is up here where the cross is. Um, you all heard the news this week about the ship being found in off Labrador, the Quest. He died on the Quest in South Georgia. He was going back to the Antarctic, and his wife said, "Don't send him home. Bury him there." And he actually he was not a very faithful husband, and actually one of the mistresses called his wife up and said, have you heard from Sir Ernest? Is he okay? And she was not very amused by that. Uh, so anyway, she said, bury him where his heart really is. So there he is on South Georgia, buried there with some of his crew and people. Now, the reason we could not go on, we weren't on land here. We weren't sure of these seals, which are elephant seals. They're young ones, whether they had bird flu. Avian flu has killed thousands of seals in Chile, in Argentina, and over now in the Falklands and in South Georgia. And so it has gone into this. It has crossed into the seal population, and you'll see in a few minutes that it also has gotten into the birds as well. Well, that's where it probably came to the seals, was through the birds. So here we are toasting Shackleton first thing in the morning. And I don't think the Asian people really knew who Shackleton was, but they liked the toast anyway. But they were very interested, though, in some of the history there. And that's Ian. He's an Australian former military, was our history buff, who was our leader everywhere. He told us something about the history. This is now Grytviken whaling station. Look at the tanks that they had. That was the biggest station. The official offices are way down there. There's a post office there. You can buy stamps and send out a card. And the lifeboat of Shackleton is there in a little museum. And you can see the tip of the church here. There's a ship that's here that has the remains are there. Oh, there's the cemetery. You see it on the in the field. That's where we couldn't go. But here we are on land, covered with the whole by the water is covered with seals. And I climbed up again that day, another to Dead Man's Point. This young fellow from the Sunshine Coast in Canada, I was lagging behind, and he just stayed with me. He said, "You continue as far as you can. Let's see if you can make it." So I did go there, and a Swiss gentleman who works with DFO walked back with me. So he met the nicest people and the most helpful people on this thing. And we met up on that point. I'm happy I went there because right when we got to Dead Man's Point, we met this young lady. You see her in proper English outfit with the flag on her shoulder. She's with the British Antarctic expedition. And she was going out to a penguin colony to do measurements and that. And I wonder if she was part of this team that was measuring avian flu. This is the H5N1, the same one that's here, probably a variant by now down there. And you see, this was in the BBC a few days after I got back. My son sent it to me. Bird flu has been confirmed in 10 penguins in South Georgia. And so, and you see the Gentoo and king penguins have now fallen to it as well. I don't know if any died. They just were able to get confirmed that it was in the penguins. And they say with winter coming on, that was summer there. So with winter coming on, it probably would not spread further because it just is not tenable to carry on in the winter. Now here we come to St. Andrews Bay, which has one of the biggest colonies of king penguins that you can imagine. These are king penguins. They look like the emperor penguin, except a little bit smaller. We didn't see any emperor penguins. They're in a different part of Antarctica and of these islands. So they're beautiful, beautiful penguins. There, you see them in the water and on the side there. And in the next slide, here I'll put a. Oh no. Oh, there it goes. You know what I haven't done? There. I put the sound on, and you can actually see those are all penguins. They say 250,000 mating pairs. One of my colleagues said, scientists obviously can't count well. And well, you think 250,000 pairs make 500,000 plus the young, plus the immatures. So hear them? Yeah, you could hear the kind of a very high pitched little sound from the penguins. It just continues all the way around here. It just goes on and on and on. Penguin, so close to 1 million penguins out on that beach. And here they are. There's a penguin walking in front of a bunch of big adult elephant seals. They call that a cuddle of elephant seals. They cuddle together. Not that they need to cuddle, they have so much blubber. But I don't, and I have no idea how they get in and out of the water. But they must be an immense amount of weight to carry to get down. They must wait till the tide comes in a bit further. I liked the seal standing in front. And then we started to get, as we left, now we left South Georgia and we're heading for Antarctica. It's a 2-day trip and we hit Iceberg Alley. There are one iceberg after another. This fellow I got to know in England, I'll tell you a very short story about him. He was from England and had been in the Air Force at one point, but he also found out that the British Air Force sends the RAF 707 several times a week to the Falkland Islands. And so you could buy a ticket on it. So he came direct flight from London to the Falkland Islands, except you can't get to Argentina from the Falkland Islands. So he had to fly to Chile and then take a bus back, 12-hour bus trip from Punta Arenas to Ushuaia across the border back into Argentina. He was allowed in. And I mean, there are British Airways flights to Buenos Aires, but not from the Falklands. And actually, if you are in Ushuaia, there are actually signs there that say capital of the Malvinas, which is the Argentinian name of the Falkland Islands. So they consider that is their territory. So beautiful iceberg here. This is from an ice sheet. And it's been eroded underneath. I call this bridge over troubled waters. But you can see the flat top indicates it came from the Ross ice sheet. There's one like this 824A, which we didn't go close to it, but it's the size of Manhattan. And it actually grounded itself and then got loose a few years later and now is floating up into the South Atlantic. So then we hit a force 8 gale and you can see it was really ferocious. This is in the Scotia Sea, which is kind of an extension of the Drake Passage. So this is going down and this is out of my window of my room and it was just all night like this. And the next day we actually took shelter in the South Orkneys in a little bay. And you see here's one of the krill ships that had also taken shelter in there. So that's where we ran into it. and you see these glaciers coming down. Isn't that beautiful glaciers? And since we were moored for several hours, they let us go on the bridge, and so we got to see how they're doing the sonar and looking for icebergs and keeping us safe. And the captain came down that evening because somebody complained we weren't going further into Antarctica, and why did we not have more time there? He just said, I I don't want to run into iceberg. I want to keep you guys safe. And he showed us a map of you know, this what the how our trip would be. And I think for me it was still an amazing trip that we were doing with what we had, and to even experience, you know, a storm like that and being safe on board the ship was quite an experience. Okay, here we come to the Antarctic Peninsula, and we are coming now to these islands that are here. This is Paulette Island, which we visited first, and this is Elephant Island, where for some reason Shackleton's crew, they missed Paulette Island, where there actually was a hut which the Swedes had built when they were shipwrecked, and I'll show you it in a few minutes. And but they ended up on this island here called Elephant Island because of the seals, and so they stayed. He left part of the crew there, and then he went from the. It's amazing if you read the book, the conditions that they had to land on. There are weather conditions that where it comes down a wind from above and then spins around like a tornado on the outside, you know, that they almost couldn't land. Have you ever seen that? No, but it's just the conditions down there are very difficult for ships and for seamen. So and then we landed at Brown Bluff here, right on Antarctica, and then went off to the South Shetlands afterwards. Just before I leave this one, see this island here? This is Deception Island. We went there, Telephone Bay in Deception Island. We went there, and it is a volcano. So we are in the volcano blew out the center of the island, and the wall of the one of the walls of the volcano, and it's filled up with water. So we actually could go into it. It's an active volcano. And you'll see it in a few minutes. I'll get to it. And you can see steam rising from it. And so anyway, I'll show you that in a bit. So here we come to Paulette Island, and there's me, and with icebergs off shore, it's about 1 degree or 0 degree, about that. And these are Adelie penguins. There's the only ones that are named after a person. It's a woman, the wife of one of the explorers. And this is a chicken shit bird. That's what it's called. Its actual name is a snowy sheathbill, but they're everywhere there, and they're eating uh, poop. So yeah, that's why they're called chicken shit birds. And and these are the Adelie penguins. I just like the shape of them there. And these are male fur seals. And this one is a seal you don't want to meet, is the leopard seal. And it is very vicious, and they have teeth. And it's interesting. This was the only one that was recorded. We actually, Danny, the Swiss fellow, and I saw one another day swimming through the kelp, kind of trying to catch a penguin that was unaware of the leopard seal there. The only predator of the leopard seal is, does anybody know? Killer whale, yeah, orca. And this is quite famous what they try to do with them. They try to get them on an ice floe, and then they'll circle them. This is certain groups of orcas have learned that behavior, and they'll create a standing wave until the seal slides off, and then there are several. There are several of the orcas will be ready to just pounce on it, and that's it for it. That's dinner. Yeah, it's a very interesting activity. They're the wolves of the sea. And this is now on Paulette Island. Just she's showing us the geology. This I just wanted to show you. This is the the Swedish hut that remains of it. 100 years later, it was obviously more to it, and that's where they were shipwrecked and where could be protected. And these are the penguins, and you see the baby ones here. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just lying down, and they're all fuzzy. This one's a young one as well. There are all kinds of young ones with them. So those are young penguins that haven't fledged yet. They still have the fuzzy coat on them. And then here I did my polar dip. See, there's my shirt. I wore it for today. And here we go. The coldest part was actually putting that belt on me. It had been in already. So the water was probably just below 0 degrees because it's salt water. So I didn't stay in very long. And then I had they had a robe, a nice white robe, and warm, and I headed for the hot tub. This man was a few months older than me. He was a lawyer from Boston who actually he had a stroke 2 years before, and he still went on board and went in the polar dip. I wasn't going to do it, but I was kind of dared, and I kind of said, "You can do it," and I did it. So, whoop, sorry, you saw it already. There. Now here are the orcas. This was so much fun to see them. I had been looking for them, and I thought I wouldn't see an orca. With my luck, I probably wouldn't. And then there they are. See them there? And then there's another one over there. See the blowing here? There are three of them here. I was so excited. And they had told us to go to the bow, and they were right on this, they came right down the side of the ship. So I did see my orcas. Look at all this ice there. That's what they have to watch out for. There's ice everywhere. And so now we are on the actual continent of Antarctica at Brown Bluff. We get to hold the flag. They auctioned it off at the end. It was on the front of the ship, and we were supposed to stay, 3 or 4 meters, 5 meters away from the penguins, but they always seem to come close to us. And this little one came running across to finding the mother. Just they didn't care where we were. Food was important. So the mother or father is regurgitating for the penguin and for the baby. And this is just the core of a volcano that's still that's there. And this was fun too. This part here, you could see the look at the end, but to see what happened here, we were we weren't going to do it, Anne and we ended up surfing at the end. Everybody else had done it, and we thought, oh, we'll do it back to the ship. And you see what happens. This is going between this the our driver, the boat driver was a young woman from. Well, now what happens? See the other boat? It has a wake. I didn't expect that wake. I had a polar dip the day before. It went right down my jacket. It was enough water to get my underwear was wet. I was soaked right through. Fortunately, we were close to the end, and I could change when I got home and warm up. And she said she still owes me a glass of wine or something, a drink for it. She was from Saint Jean de Richelieu from Quebec. See, we had a lot of Canadians on board, and she was having fun with us. Then, and the next, so this was us afterwards, Anne and I. We thought that was just hilarious. The reaction, the look on our faces, I think tells it all. And so then what she did she turned the rudder, just put it right to, I did a 360. We did a complete circle. Isn't that neat? So we're going around and we got a complete view around there. And she was certainly a bit of a daredevil, the young driver. And see the glacier there behind there. There's a tunnel here with a river coming down underneath the glacier. And of course, environmentally, again, there's a lot of melting going on, a lot of increased water and ice coming off the glaciers. And that's why some of those big breaks off ice shelves, the Ross ice shelf is just breaking apart in the Antarctic. And this is one of the icebergs that's there. Just a beautiful iceberg. And okay, here we come to we're almost done. We're coming into Deception Island, and this is we're coming into the volcano. Oh, by the way, if you wonder how recently the volcano blew its top, 1967 and 69. So it's not that long ago. It's within my lifetime. And almost within the life of the Blomidon Naturalists. So here we go around where I just did a panorama as we go around there. There's the rim of the volcano. We climbed up it. You see some of the people walking in a few minutes. There they are. See us walking. And then we went up on the rim and we looked down into the other side. And then we came down and up again. And it was just an amazing view. There you see the caldera of the volcano and our ship in it. And that chimney is just at the entrance to where we went in. And here we are on the rim. That's the fellow on the left is the ship doctor. They had two doctors on board, one for the crew and one for the passengers. The one from just mention him for just a second. He had he was from South Africa, had been a doctor in France, and he just decided to change his lifestyle. And he went to Sudan first with the Red Cross, and after after being the ship doctor for us, he was on his way to Gaza, which worried me with MSF, Medicine Sans Frontières. And Sophie was a better lecturer than I am. She was really good in telling us about the geology. She was from Norway. And this ship here, you want to rent a ship for $1 million a day? That's a Russian ship from oligarch. You can rent it and have a party boat through Antarctica. So we found it here, and then we saw it again in Ushuaia. So and this is Miranda from Acadia student. She works for DFO as well, and she wrote me just recently that she was in Saguenay region with DFO and uh, counting whales and checking up on the health of whales in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. And that's a glacier on Greenwich Island. And Greenwich Island is famous for its chinstrap penguins. And aren't these lovely? And this whole hill is covered with seals and chinstrap penguins, just all over the place. And then we were heading back to Ushuaia from there, and we partied a bit. We had some drinks on board the ship. We had a birthday party for this lady from Calgary, a nurse from Calgary. She never had a birthday party in her life. So these two ladies who met her, who are on board with us, who befriended her, said, "Why don't we have a birthday party?" Her birthday was in July. But we had a birthday party. See, we had a cake here. Nigel and I were invited to join the ladies. And actually, I'm getting together with two of them, this one and this one. This one is a nurse from London, England. Nigel lives there when I go to London in September. So getting together again. So we had a good time that evening. And then while you saw that some of the crew were there, or some of the leaders, and within 5 minutes, I got them all together. I don't know how I did it, but I got them all together to get a picture of them. And here's the guy from Argentina who thinks uh, everything should belong to Argentina down there. And this is our team leader, Bertie. Last name is Burton, so he's called Bertie. And the doctor on the left. And this is the guy from uh, Switzerland. And so a lot of, like I said, work with DFO or other kind of institutions. And Miranda actually stayed with it, and they went all the way. She went up the Atlantic Ocean, up to Spitsbergen, and did a voyage from there before she started her summer job. So they have some very interesting lives. And then we had auction last night to um, and I went and paid for about a $50 bottle of whiskey. I paid $500 for the Shackleton whiskey, but it went, as you see, it went to the South Georgia Heritage Fund and Saving the Penguins. I figured if I paid that much money for it, do something good as well. And and it gave me a bit of a, to win the bid in the auction. It was kind of neat too. And I got the backpack as well. That's the backpack over there. So and there's about this much left. I should have brought it with me, but then I couldn't drive home. Oh no, you would have drunk it. And you have an electric car, which will drive you home. Just put in auto mode. Uh, and this is the Drake Passage. Doesn't it look absolutely calm? Beautiful sunset on the Drake Passage. And here we are, 3 nautical miles from Chile. We were allowed to come in to Cape Horn. And this is I didn't show you that there was a house on Deception Island, a little white house. I was just thinking of it now. That's where they measure the seismic activity. So if there was seismic activity, we wouldn't have been going in there. So, and there was steam as well coming up. And there were you notice there were forgot to mention that no seals or, um, or penguins on that island. And because it's warm, there's steam coming up out of the sand, out of the cinders, sorry, not sand, the lava rock. And there's also sulfur in the water. So not very conducive for seals and penguins. So was a good reason for that. Now here we are, and you can see here the memorial to all the ships that have gone down off Cape Horn. And like I said, our captain said we're going across Lake Horn, um, the the Drake Lake today, not not any wild land. And that's the end. Oh, and this is our just list of the animals that we saw along the way if anybody's interested. We saw this is by the day, and this is by the type of penguin, Magellanic, kings, no emperors, gentoos, chin straps, adelies, macaronis. Those are only on South Georgia. These ones were on Antarctica. And the albatrosses we saw nearly every day. Like I said, black-browed albatross. It was just an amazing trip. Here are all the petrels, all different sizes of petrels, from shearwaters to prions to giant petrels, which I showed you. The storm petrels are a different group of birds. Um, there's your Wilson storm petrel. Nearly every day we saw those out behind us. And there's um, and then the cormorants. We saw different types of cormorants and geese and ducks. And the pintail, that was the South Georgia pintail, was the one that the rats had almost gotten rid of, and they were recovering. And and there are the whales. We saw a lot of humpback whales down in the Antarctic, and minkies when we started. Another one along here. There was a sei whale on the first day, and we saw several fin whales, which are the second biggest whale in the world. And lots of dolphins, and of course the killer whale, the orca, is among the dolphins. And we saw. I only saw it on the last day. I didn't see the first one when they saw it the first time. And lots of fur seals, leopard seals. We saw it actually on 2 days, and lots of the elephant seals were on South Georgia. So that's it.
Please just remember to repeat the question so the student can hear. So, are there, Allison, could you turn the lights on, maybe right behind you? Perfect. Are there any questions for John?
How many outfits you doing that you were saying it's a lot of tourism that was growing? I mean, I guess that would you like half a dozen, 6 outfits that you're taking tours like that, or?
That's about it. About 6 or so different companies are doing tours down there. Some of the bigger ones, or the question was, how many outfits are doing, or companies are doing tours down there? And it would be 6 or 7. I don't really have a record of that. Oh, Viking is well known. Those are big ships. Yeah, it's a Norwegian company. I'm not sure all the mine was an American company, Quark, and I would take them again. They do tours up of they do one of the high Arctic, and after Zoe's talk, I'm very intrigued to go up to the high Arctic and see Ellesmere Island and see some of the places up there and see the belugas and the be lucky if I do see a um, some polar bear and things like that, but it would be nice. Spitz, they do a lot around Spitsbergen. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can you give us a hint?
How much did it cost? Okay, it was $15,000 US. Yeah, for 2 weeks. So it's not bad. I saw, see, I was supposed to go to the Galapagos and Machu Picchu with Adventures Abroad, which is a Canadian company, and it fell through at the last minute. And so I looked on end of November, maybe for something for this summer to go to, and there was this on sale um, trip to Antarctica. So I thought nothing ventured, nothing gained. And all my neighbors said, "That's you, go." And they wanted to get rid of me, I guess. And so I went, and I'm so happy I did. It was an adventure, and something I've always if I've been on 2 cruises, or one riverboat and 2 sea cruises, which are interesting, and but this was really an adventure to go with experts, and uh, you get to know them. You are with them, 24 hours a day. Yeah, you've done quite a bit of that, Gary and Pam. You've been on a number of those kind of in the Arctic as well. Yeah, we have to have you talk sometime on your trips.
The weather.
The weather.
Day. One picture. What was the average weather?
The average weather was about mixed. Well, you saw we had a few storms. Um, and we hit good weather when we came on land. We had to watch the surf, for landing. Um, so the weather was, I wouldn't say iffy. It was good. Um, just just went with the flow. What we were allowed to do, we did. If there was a day that they said, we're not, but it turns out every time they were worried about it, we ended up clearing up and we got on shore. Compared to Shackleton, when I read the book, uh, those poor guys, they had trouble getting on shore. And every time, wherever they went, they had trouble going on. They didn't have Zodiacs, no. But still, yeah. No, it was asking what the captain was. He is Ukrainian. And so if you're interested in where the people were from, the majority of the crew were from Southeast Asia or South Asia, Indian, Filipino, Indonesian, places like that. The people who were our expedition leaders were everywhere from South Africa to, um, I mentioned Australia, South Africa, Sweden. The Swedish girl had worked with MSF in the Mediterranean because she loved ships. She was helping refugees um, rescuing the people where the ships were falling apart and rescuing them to get them to Italy or Greece. And the stories of these people um, is more than just leading us there. One of the Swedish ones had gone around Spitsbergen in a kayak through all the ice packs there. Um, we had these little talks in the evening on what different people were. Um, and the people on board, the majority were U.S., Canadian, British, so a number of Australians, Dutch, one fellow from Suriname, some from China, from Macau. Um, so we had an international. There was a lady who was um, she had been a diplomat on the U.S. diplomatic corps. Just fascinating people.
How many days was the whole trip?
How many days was the trip? It was 13 days, 14 days. So $1,000 a day. Yeah.
Any, the last question or?
May I just ask about the food? Like, was it
Oh,
like-
yes. The question was about the food. The food was excellent. Um, they had buffet for breakfast, for lunch, and then sit down dinner. And you could